Okay, so the recording started, Jade. So again, we're going to use this as a little bit of a teaching session for M1 textbook, the organisation. We're then going to do M2 textbook, value of skills.
Okay.
So we're going to read through this textbook, and we're just going to have some discussion and note down where you think it's relevant to some of these, to your job role, with some examples as well. Because then when we get to the next assignment, which is assignment number 5, there's 2 parts to that. So they're both called the organisation internal policies, and the other one is called your organisation interactive. So we're going to work through both of those. Okay, so let's look at the start. So understanding your organisation, its purpose, activities, aims, and values. So we've looked at some of these bits before, Jade, in external factors and for your PESEL as well. So what the organisation does. So what is it that Bidvest does? So specific, centred around your job role. So what part of the business is it that you look after?
Security.
That's it. So you're going to look after the security and the facilitation of offices and policy and processes, resources, making sure everybody has what they need. So it's the aim of Bidvest to supply great customer service. So we've looked at Bidvest Newnham website before, haven't we?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this stuff and ways of working as well. The vision for the future, resources, the way in which it's might be externally affected, which comes back to your PESEL document that we've done already as well. So political, economics, social, technology, legal, and environmental. Okay, so that's it. So we can find all of these bits on Bidvest Newnham website, but we know that it's important that you have access to this information. So these kind of things is probably in your staff handbook.
Yeah.
And you can also access it via the website as well. So these are the areas where we can find these kind of this kind of information. And it's the information that underpins the values for Bidvest Newnham. So when you start working within the business sector, you will undertake a full induction, just like you would have done when you first started in the office.
Yeah.
And business vision and values are going to be set out. So you know expectations, you know kind of how the business wants to work, and you know within your job role, your job spec, how you know Bidvest would like you to conduct your job role. It will also give you an insight into the brand standards and the style in which the business operates. So your line manager, who was Daisy at the time, would have supported you in this and allowed you to expand on that information and give you feedback and allow you to ask lots of questions. It's likely that you'll need to attend training, or you would have needed to attend training, or you might even do monthly refresher training on these kinds of things as well, for standardization process, just to make sure that standards are kept high when you're informed of any changes to processes or bits of legislation.
Sorry, 1 second. It's all right. I'll give him. Okay. Give him. Do you know Jim Canali's email? Sorry, Richard. 1 second.
That's okay.
One second. It's adrian.canali@bidfestnoonan.com. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Richard.
It's okay. Right. So we were looking at purpose, aims, and ways of working, Jade, for your organisation. So it's important we understand what the vision statement is, how it impacts your role, and how it impacts the business moving forward, how it allows you to achieve your own objectives. So effectively, how it allows you to understand your own job specification and how you go about doing your work. Okay. The purpose of the business is different to the vision and values, and it should emphasise the way in which an organisation views itself and conducts its business. If the organisation that you work for does not have a clear purpose, it runs the risk of creating internal problems such as confusion and distrust. This could result in a lack of confidence in the management and teams. So a lot of your process and policies are going to be shaped around law and legislation. They're also going to be shaped around how you need to work and get the best result. And outcomes for your team and for your job and area of business.
Yeah.
That effectively allows you to think about why you're doing the things that you're doing. And it allows you to always go back to the fundamentals of what Bidvest stands for and how they want to be seen. So explain how the organisation's purpose and aims of working affects the local environment. Explain how it can, the ways of working can affect the wider economic and political environment. So you're going to have to accommodate all these bits of regulations and standards within your industry, within the service industry, and what you have to apply. And you can think about how these affect your job role.
Yeah.
So can you think of a bit like a law or a piece of legislation, Jade, that you always have to follow that affects
your
exactly, that affects your job role all the time. So you have to comply to that. You have to be compliant, and it's really important that you are compliant and that the business remains up to date with those laws and regulations, and that you yourself remain up to date with those laws and regulations as well.
Yeah.
Because that's going to have a knock-on effect to corporate HR, financial implications potentially. You can also look at key performance indicators, or KPIs, they're sometimes known as. So as a team, you might be given KPIs to hit. As an individual, you might be given KPIs to hit, and these can be assigned kind of in Teams meetings or kind of as ongoing targets. And then strategy can be created around that, of how your team might succeed in towards those, how you might succeed in reaching your own KPIs and goals and objectives as well. So if you consider the type of sector that you work in and the purpose of your organisation and the different things that can affect your business, including benefits for customers and local community, so customer satisfaction and loyalty. So Bidvest might ask some of its clients, i.e. some of its big contractors, different site owners, for feedback in terms of customer satisfaction. So what are you doing? What are you guys doing well? What areas do you think you could improve on? And this might be for site as well. So it's also got the organisation that you work for can also affect the environment in many ways, environmental impact. So we've looked at that already, Jade, haven't we, in your PESEL document?
Yeah.
So what control measures are put into place, deliveries. So there's probably some kind of like recycling policy that Bidvest has in general, and each site then has to comply and adopt that. to make it work for them.
Yeah.
Understanding economic, environmental, and wider economic factors. That's what we've looked at. And then you've got the PESTLE, which is kind of what we've done there. Okay. We're also, Jade, going to look at textbook number 2, value of skills. Yeah, there we go. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is going to cover knowledge in relation to your business, like organizational structure, understanding your own skill set and the value that your skill set brings to the business.
Mm-hmm.
Like interpersonal skills, Jade, for example. So your ability to communicate and have really good interpersonal skills like planning and organization.
Yeah.
These are key skills that you have as an individual. And the reason why they're important is that they match up really well with your job role.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can add a lot of value and structure to the office environment and the way in which you go about your work.
Yeah.
So in terms of knowing the structure of your organization, as we said before, Bidvest is too big a business to look at a structure as a whole. You have got kind of key management positions on the Bidvest Noonan website to look at, but generally in terms of hierarchy for your business, how would that go? So who's in charge? Who would be the most senior person within the office space, Jade?
Probably the MD.
Okay. And then that filters down into different job roles
Yeah.
and different departments as well. So different
Yeah.
departments are going to have heads of department. They're going to have line managers and staff that you all have to liaise with all the time. Like HR, you probably have to liaise with quite a lot.
Yeah.
So it's important you know who these people are.
Yeah, 100%.
And where you can find them and what your relationship is with them as well. So you've got a brief structure here. So as you say, you've got CEO, accounts managers, sales managers, and then you've got line managers, and then within that you've got different substructures.
Yeah.
And you've got different types of structures here as well. So divisional structures are similar to functional structures, but they have multiple smaller functional structures. So each division has its own team.
Yeah.
So Bidvest does have divisional structures. You then, within your own team, are probably going to have process-based structures. So they're designed around the flow of different processes that are needed for the organisation. So everybody looks after their own area.
Yeah.
So in fact, Bidvest is going to have a lot of these divisional structures, process-based structures, centralised structures. So you're going to have this at various points within Bidvest, within your own team, within different departments.
Yeah.
Okay. We look at policies and procedures, Jade. As well as knowing the management structure, you're also going to need to be familiar with policies that define your job role. So there's going to be loads of different policies that you're going to be aware of, that you have to work with, that you have to work around to get the best result for your business, so that you can then apply to your job role and pass on to any relevant parties that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Can you think of any policies that might be relevant to that example, Jade? So any policies that Bidvest might have or that you have to deal with all the time? But not necessarily law or legislation.
No.
So policies and processes.
I'd say from a manager's point of view, like we have monthly meetings.
Yeah.
So that's like a procedure that we
Yeah.
do.
So that's your process. So
And
every
that's
month.
obviously they have to do that to have because it's their responsibility for their employees,
Okay.
their team.
What do those meetings cover?
Just see on how well we're getting on, how we're feeling, and any changes in the business.
Okay, so that's a performance management process that we're talking about. So that might cover what's going on in terms of laws, regulations, pieces of legislation, updates. It might address policy and processes as a team.
Yep.
So you can develop strategy of how to obtain or how to attain goals and objectives. It might then also allow you to cover personal goals and objectives as well.
Yeah.
So what you want to, what you as a member of staff and an individual, how you want to progress your career, any targets that you might need to hit yourself. Okay, we'll just have a look at this, Jade, as well. So limited companies and public limited companies. So I need to decide which one Bidvest is as a result of looking at these two. So a limited company is different from a sole trader or a partnership. A limited company is owned by shareholders who are not necessarily managers within the business.
Yeah.
So they might be investors, for example.
Yeah.
Shareholders own a share of the company, and in return, they receive a dividend forecast. So they will receive a set percentage of any profit that the business makes.
Yeah.
The shareholders will appoint a board of directors and to control the company for them, and they appoint managers to run the business on a day-to-day basis. To become a limited company, an organisation might just register with Companies House and have a certain amount of legal documents in place.
Yeah.
The law, in law, the company is treated like a person, which means that the company is held responsible for its actions rather than its owners. The owners have limited liability, which means that if the business fails, they will only lose money. And they have a vested interest in the business and not their personal money. So a limited company will also pay corporation tax on its profits.
Yeah.
Whereas a public limited company has the same setup as a private limited company, but its shares can be sold on the stock exchange, which means that I could, if Bidvest was a PLC and it was floated, somebody like me could invest. Anybody can. It's not a closed market. Anybody can invest. So it's a public limited company. So anybody can become an investor, and therefore a shareholder or a stakeholder can then become anybody with a vested interest within the business. So you know which one of those Bidvest is, Jade?
Limited.
The limited. Yeah, that's it. So we've got a little bit more here. So community interest companies, cooperatives, limited liability partnerships. Now, my advice is, Jade, once we get a little bit later on in the course, once we go back to, or once we get towards the end, what you'll do is you'll need to have a knowledge of what these are and how they operate, because there's going to be questions within the multiple choice exam that you take at the end on this kind of stuff. Okay, so we mentioned a little bit earlier, Jade, about your own role and how you contribute to the business. So interpersonal skills, we spoke about, something that you've got in terms of organisation and planning. So you've got that skill set, which lends itself really well to the job that you do.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have that, you either wouldn't be as good as at the job that you are, or you wouldn't be in the job that you are. Certain skill sets will lend themselves to certain jobs. You can cultivate and learn as you go along, but ultimately it always helps if you have these things already.
Yeah.
So understanding how to prioritize activities is an essential skill. So, Jade, how do you give me an example of from the start of a day when you first get in? How do you plan your day? How do you move from one task to the next efficiently?
We have a inbox,
Yeah,
which we all have, and then we just go in there and we color code it to what. So we just take not what we want, but
yeah.
we separate it into color codes, and then we just crack on with it.
Okay, so the color codes broken up into effectively what your areas of expertise are. So who can deal with it the best?
Yeah. So
Okay,
if I think I can deal with it, I'll put it in my name.
okay,
Or if my
excellent.
colleague Ashley thinks she can deal with it, she'll put it to her name.
Okay, or if you can't, it would be escalated to a line manager.
To a line manager, yeah.
Okay, so what you're talking about is the ability to prioritize activities. So
Yeah.
again, as I say, moving from one task to the next effectively. So you might look at that, you might look at your intro and think, right, I've got 5 things that I have to get done today. And you might then put them in order of importance.
Yeah.
And do the most important one first.
Yeah.
So it's similar, it's called the ABCDE of management. So you do
Yeah.
the A tasks, the most important task first, and then it goes on. So E and F tasks might get delegated to somebody else, or they might get left until the next day or reprioritized, because there might be things that happen during the day. So you might get halfway through your day and something might then get handed to you that's really, really important that you have to get done. So
Yeah.
you might need to then reflect the rest of your day in terms of what that looks like. And that's all to do with planning and organisation skills.
Yeah.
You might have to communicate. You might have to use communication skills to speak to Ashley or speak to your line manager or other departments in HR.
Yeah.
So all of your thinking about your skill set that you've got, Jade. So all these skills that you possess, your value of skills. Why do you think these particular skills, so communication, organisation, planning, why do you think they're important to your job role?
I think communication is key because we're working for other people, kind of thing. We're looking after the key account managers, sites, and the key account director sites. So, and we all have to work as a team.
Okay, excellent. So teamwork. So teamwork, being able to communicate and liaise as a team and utilise each other's strengths and skill sets to get the best performance as a result.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So in terms of planning, you can identify a task. You can then choose what you're able to do, just like using the colour code. You can assign and delegate tasks to others. You can then define the start and end dates.
Yeah.
I.e., you can assign a time scale to each task, i.e., I need to get this done by the end of the day. I need to get this done in the next hour. I need to get this done by the end of the month.
Yeah.
And you can allocate a priority level to those as well, which allows you to then track your progress within the task as well. So for something like a project, if it's like a bigger job, if you've got a month to complete a project, there's going to be subcategories and there might be things that you need to get done or phases of that project. So in order to complete the project, you're going to need to get the first phase done. And there might be things and tasks and goals that you need to meet within that before you move on to the next stage.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you plan your day, Jay? Do you take notes? I know you've got your notebook that you use a lot for taking notes and updating yourself. Have you got a manual planner like a diary or a schedule or a online calendar that you keep? So okay, excellent.
Me and Ashley, we can see each other's calendars, so
Okay, excellent.
We look at each other's calendars quite a lot.
Okay, excellent. So that allows you to make more informed decisions and decision making, which we've got a little bit about here. So it allows you, when selecting data and information that is going to be considered in any decision making process, you must be able to do this in a non-judgmental, non-biased manner to ensure that you achieve and can be consistent in your approach. So you can look at the purpose of the information and how it's relevant. You can then gather more data and information of what's necessary. You can analyze it. You can then make recommendations.
Yep.
And you can then store that information and update it if need be as well. Okay, you've also touched upon communication already, Jade. So we're just going to look at some advantages and disadvantages of different types of communication. So what do you think are the advantages of sending an email to someone are versus the disadvantages as such?
The disadvantages?
Well, both. We can look at both.
I mean, sending an email very quick, easy.
That's it, exactly right. So we could use this as an example. So you can send it to multiple participants at the same time.
Yeah.
As well, to save you having multiple face-to-face conversations.
Yeah.
You've then got a written audit trail as well.
Yeah.
So you've got, as soon as that's sent, you've got a record of it. It's kept, so you can look back on exactly when it was sent, what was said. Whereas a disadvantage may be that somebody might not look at it until the week after.
Yeah, it's true.
Somebody might
I also feel like as well in emails people might take you, they might come across the wrong way.
Yeah. So information can be misconstrued, or how you want something to come across can be misinterpreted. Yeah. That's it. And this can be the same as well. If we think about notice boards, internal memos, so they've got their benefits, so they're quick and easy for people to read, but people might also not see them. So different forms of communication have got benefits. They've got their plus points and they've also got their negative points.
Yeah.
So we need to think about in different situations or with different people, how you might adopt and adapt different types of communication. So for example, if you've got a problem that you need to escalate, you'll probably, and your line manager is in the office, you'll probably go and speak to them about it face to face.
Yeah.
Whereas if you need to deal with HR, then you'll probably give them a phone call.
Yeah.
Or an email, because it's quicker. It'll save you walking right to the other side of the building or a different building. It's not always as easy as setting up a face-to-face meeting. That might take time and effort, and people might not always have the time to do that. So how teams can support each other. So you've already given a really good example, Jade, of how you and Ashley kind of dovetail.
Yeah.
And you communicate to get different bits of work done, and you understand what each other's strengths are to get work done as much as possible, get your to-do list ticked off as best as possible as well. But you can also support other teams and individuals in different ways. So given your own skill set, you might train different members of staff or new members of staff in certain processes. So effectively, you can use your skill set, your interpersonal skills that you possess, to the benefit of the team. So you can help support other people, just like other people with strengths might then help you out with something as well. So that's part of teamwork that we've also looked at before as well. So it's really understanding the contribution that you make to your job role and your work. So why do you think your job role is important to Bidvest, Jade?
I think my job role is important.
Yeah. Why do you think it's important? What do you think would happen without your job role being in place?
Clients wouldn't get what they wanted.
That's it. So you facilitate. You're a facilitator and you're an operator. So you get information where it needs to be to who it needs to get to.
Yeah.
So you will effectively allow other people to do their job roles successfully.
Yeah.
You've got a really key role within the business. So we've got it here. Look, so the role of a business administrator contributes to the efficiency of an organisation through the support and functional areas, working across teams and resolving issues as requested. So the flexibility and responsiveness required allows skills to be developed. So do you agree with that, Jade?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So think about other departments. So we've already spoken about other departments. So you work with HR. You work with, can you think of any other departments that you might work with, Jade, as well?
HR, we work with, sometimes we work with marketing.
Yeah.
We help them out quite a bit.
So you liaise with them quite closely in getting work done.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
But
So
when they
within
win a
your-
new contract, we'll help them like set it up and get all the site equipment there and stuff like that.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we've also done this as well, Jay. So your personal development plan. So if we think back to the start of the course, we did this right at the start. So you'll see your CPD log. So as well as the skill set within the team and what you bring to the team, you can also think about your own skill set and how you want to develop and progress.
Yeah.
So it's important to look at the skills that you've already got and how they can be improved on, or skills that you don't possess that you can try and obtain and how you're going to go about that. As I say, these are the kind of things that we've already put in your CPD log and your personal development plan.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of things that could be considered when you have your monthly one-to-one with your line manager, when you're talking about KPIs, when you're talking about feedback and constructive feedback.
Yeah.
So these might include going to conferences, having external training courses like you're doing with this one, having coaching and mentoring, so spending time with certain people within the business that are going to develop your skill set so you can understand and learn from them.
Yeah.
And your ability to compare your skill set with others. So that's really important in an office environment. So you know that there might be things that you know that Ashley is really, really good at.
Yeah.
So when you see things pop up on the colour chart, you might say, oh, that might be a good one for you to tackle.
Yeah.
And Ashley will know that you've got your own skill set as well, that you're really good at certain things, that you're able to tackle certain things using your strengths as well.
Yeah.
So these are all things to consider in value of skills, Jay. So it's knowing your skill set, how you can use it, how it's important, and recognizing it within a wider business framework. Okay. I'm just going to stop the recording there.